Hi, everyone. Thank you for joining us for the February edition of Pitch Perfect. So with today's presentation, we do just want everyone to be mindful of that there will be forward-looking information. So there can be no assurances that forward-looking information will prove to be accurate, as actual results in future events could differ materially from those anticipated in such statements. So accordingly, viewers should not place undue reliance on forward-looking information. And very excited to be kicking things off with Renee from Ecologyst. Ecologyst is, I believe now, a three-time capital raiser on FrontFundr. So excited to have them back and really, leverage their community. As a sustainable clothing manufacturer, they are on a mission to end fast fashion. So I'm excited to turn things over to Renee to get started on the Ecologyst pitch.
Okay, great. Yeah, thanks. My name is Renee, founder and CEO of Ecologyst. So unlike most clothing brands, we actually make clothes. This is an image of our manufacturer to consumer location in Victoria, BC. So our guests, our customers get a behind the scenes look at our manufacturing and distribution process. This is a shoppable showroom for them in that space. So we fulfill our customers' need for transparency and connection. The fashion industry is broken and unsustainable, and unlike most legacy industries, it's yet to be disrupted. So clothing production is responsible for nearly 10% of gas emissions, the 1/5 of all industrial water pollution. And currently, we've surpassed 100 billion garments being produced annually. So that's 13 pieces for every single person. What's really crazy is 3/5 of that is thrown away every year. We do things quite differently here at Ecologyst, though. So we're a manufacturer to consumer model. We remove most of the traditional steps from the global supply chain model. And by doing so, we reduce greenhouse gas emissions by up to 90% with our products. We use 100% natural biodegradable materials, so no plastic fibers. And we build fewer better. And we back our higher quality with lifetime repairs and a second life program. Most of the problems stem from a global supply chain that we believe is totally broken. So on the top is the standard supply chain model that most clothing companies use, 18 to 24 month cycle, tens of thousands of kilometers traveled, and the clothing industry carbon footprint is actually larger than air travel and sea combined. So on the bottom, that's us. We go natural materials to us, to the customer. Simple, 3-month cycles, 0 kilometers from factory to warehouse travel. So you've probably heard of D2C. Well, this is the real D2C. We call it manufacturer to consumer. Seeing good traction with this model so far. So our revenue run rate is 3.3 mil. NPS score is 87. Our e-commerce channel is experiencing 100% or over 100% year-on-year growth. And 98% of our sales are done at full retail price. You've probably heard the term supply chain a lot in the last couple of years, and COVID has really exposed the fragility and accelerated the inevitable collapse of, what we view as a busted model. So our M2C model has allowed us to grow in a time when our competitors are struggling to even stock their shelves. The clothing industry is a $2.5 trillion industry that actually employs 1 in 6 people on the planet right now. And it is the last legacy industry to be disrupted. We plan to continue rapidly growing Ecologyst by expanding our M2C physical footprint, continuing to grow e-com, and acquiring other quality manufacturers to accelerate our growth plans. We're serious about expanding Ecologyst across North America. We've partnered with Canaccord on this round of financing and to support a future public offering. And we're once again working with FrontFundr to ensure our non-accredited investors have the opportunity to participate in this round. Thanks for listening, and that's my email address and phone number if you'd like to reach out.
Amazing. Thanks, Renee. Really great presentation there. For all of those tuning in today, we're going to kind of follow the structure of, pitch from the business as well as a brief Q&A period. So if you do have any questions for Ecologist, please send those through the Q&A now and we'll tackle some of those. I know, Renee, one of the things you mentioned was manufacturer to consumer, which is a really innovative model. And it's something that you guys, have that's a huge competitive advantage and unique selling proposition. So can you tell us a little bit more about how this production method works and why it's, both better for people and the environment?
Yeah, I mean, like I mentioned before, it's a bit comical, really. Most clothing companies have no idea how to make clothes, and they're the customers and the brands themselves are actually pretty disconnected from that whole process. For us, we look to take out as many steps as we possibly can and do as much of it as ourselves. And build the goods as close as possible to where they're being purchased, and this has a huge impact on reducing the carbon footprint. Obviously, no secret to most people that we're facing some climate change issues. So this has a big help, this model, in reducing the amount of carbon going into the atmosphere. On the people side of things, on average overseas, in China as example, garment workers are paid about $1 an hour. This does not really allow them to well, I mean, I'll just be blunt about it. In our industry, there's a lot of modern slavery used, and even though sometimes people are paid, it's not even sufficient enough for them to leave the factory. So they're having to, eat and sleep at the factory to work, and we don't think that's very cool. So for us, we ensure our workers are paid at least a family living wage for building our products. And it's a beautiful craft, and it takes many hours to get good at it, and people need to be compensated properly for that sort of work.
For sure.
Yeah.
No, I think that's such a valuable point. And
that one for a while.
no, it's great. Ensuring everyone has a living wage is key. And actually, one of the questions that we just had through the Q&A was asking if, all the clothes and accessories are currently manufactured in Canada. So maybe you can touch on that a little bit.
Yeah, almost everything is. We do some styles in the US. So our 3D knitting is done in the US currently. Although that is part of what we're raising capital for, is to bring 3D knitting to Canada as well. So, yeah.
Great. One of the other questions we had come through is just chatting a little bit about supply chain. We know that has been an issue for a lot of companies throughout the pandemic. So has your supply chain been affected at all by your ability to source materials and do your pricing, anything like that?
Yeah, I mean, our model allowed us to escape that quite nicely. I mean, there was a couple products that we had planned that we just had to push out a bit, but for the most part, yeah, we were unscathed on that, and I chalk that up entirely to our M2C model. Yeah.
Yeah. No, that's fantastic. One of the next questions that came through from Kenneth is just talking about your natural materials and whether they're animal-based like wool or more plant-based like hemp. Perhaps you could elaborate a bit more on the materials used.
Yeah, we do both. Wool and organic cotton are kind of the main fibers that we're using currently. Yeah.
That's fantastic. Absolutely. We had just another question come through from Joel asking if you sell your merchandise exclusively through your own stores only, or do you partner with other retailer department chains, anything like that?
Yeah, at the moment, we're just direct to the end consumer. So that mostly happens through our e-com channel, but we also have physical spaces in Victoria and also Whistler. We have, though, been receiving quite a bit of interest on bulk orders, more so from companies looking to outfit their staff in sustainable clothing. They maybe have a mandate internally on what they can purchase, and so we get quite a bit of reach out from that. We recently had a gaming company out of Quebec order 1,300 wool shirts for their team.
Wow.
So yeah, it's it's not something we're chasing, but we will fulfill those orders when they come our way.
That's amazing. One other thing I wanted to just ask today is, this is now, the third campaign that you've done through FrontFundr. You've really made it a priority to open the investment opportunity up to your community. And I know on your last campaign as well, you were really emphasizing being 20% community owned as a company and kind of how important that is to your guys' values. So maybe for those tuning in today, you could just tell us a little bit more about, why someone should invest in Ecologyst and what it means to bring the community into your clothing brand.
Yeah, sure. I mean, I'm incredibly, grateful that FrontFundr exists. I think, prior to you guys opening up in Canada, we always felt that it was unfortunate that, most of our most, passionate customers weren't able to also become investors. So we're really excited that those people are over the last few years here have been able to be a bigger part than they were even before in what we're up to as a company. What was the first part of the question also? Was it why?
Why should people tuning in today invest in Ecologyst?
Yeah, I think if you're considering making an investment into a private company, you want into a company that is doing business in a responsible way, then I think we're a really great fit to sort of align values and kind of vote with your wallet, I suppose. Yeah.
Absolutely. I think that's a great phrase. We definitely, that's what you are doing when you invest or you buy products. You are, voting with your wallet. So great sentiment there, and, a great impact investment opportunity for those on the call today as well. So Renee, thank you so much for your presentation. Loved having you on today and hearing more about Ecologyst. I'd like to turn things over to our next company of today. We've got Will Cromack of Rovers Football Club to talk about the first Canadian soccer club to welcome supporters as co-owners in Canada. So yeah, Will, I'll turn it over to you.
All right. Well, thanks everybody. And slightly unique here, a sports franchise being offered to anyone to participate in. But I'm going to start it with a question. If many of the world's most prominent investors have added a sports franchise to their investment portfolio, perhaps it's time that you do. And maybe it's something you need to look at. So for us, we often say, why wouldn't you want to own part of a networking machine, a conversation starter, and a powerful community vehicle like Rovers Football Club? Next slide, please. As you can see, Rovers down there in the bottom corner, we model ourselves off of something very Canadian, hockey. If you think about junior hockey and all of the clubs that are around Canada making a major impact on their communities, that's where we sit in the soccer world. We are Canadian focused. We are definitely all about building an opportunity, particularly with the way that the world of Canada is almost soccer first in most of the families that exist. But that's where we sit. Next slide, please. What makes us unique? Well, we would like to direct you to the big pyramid over there. Most people in the world will understand England as a football country or a soccer country. Just pyramid is massive. This is a burgeoning market in Canada, known by FIFA as the last of the first world nations to get it together and start building. So we sit in the second layer right now, and we're really focused on the idea that this will be a growing pyramid that matches one day all of the European and South American powerhouses. Rovers itself is made up of a multitude of different areas that we're experts in, from academy type of environments with young kids through to youth playing full teams, and then ultimately the investment opportunity, which is now a league specifically in BC, British Columbia that is, and which is mirrored in Ontario and Quebec, and we call that League One BC, and Rovers sits in that as an anchor club. Next slide, please. Just to give everybody a little bit of a window into why this is such a good opportunity to get in now and such a conversation starter and such an opportunity is Canada, really not well known on the planet, but known for its potential, is now starting to meet some of that potential. A women's gold medal at the Olympics, 2026, we begin to invite the world into Canada for the world's biggest event called the World Cup. Alphonso Davies is now a household name in Canada, whether you like the sport, watch the sport or not, a world star. And we're starting to see massive corporate influence on the game, both with our MLS teams, a new league called the Canadian Premier League, and some massive media exposure that's beginning to happen, and media companies investing in the product. Next slide, please. So what are we doing? Well, we are taking a model from Europe, from South America, where we believe strongly that community is the actual reason that sport should exist. Sport is eroding in so many ways, where kids are struggling to get opportunity, struggling to play, struggling to stay in the game. And we suggest that people moving their franchises around or using it purely as a money or political gain is strictly abusive to us. So we want people involved. We want them to have a voice. We want them to control where their club stays, what their club does, how they do it. We built a supporter trust like they have in Germany. Supporter trust means that there's actual supporters or fans on our board, and we'll end with a say. We have a share that's available, so you can co-own a soccer club in the professional pyramid for $265. Next slide, please. So that's us. We are simply suggesting that it is one of the greatest opportunities, one of the best investments you can make. And the reason is it's really cool to talk about. It's something cool to be involved in. It's something cool to go to. And you know, who doesn't like being by the water cooler saying, I own myself a sports franchise? We welcome any questions on how we're doing it, what we're doing. Please, investors at tss.ca, or you can simply email me through the campaign page. Happy to answer anything there.
Perfect. Awesome presentation, Will. Really appreciate it. Loved learning more about what you guys are doing. And as for myself, you know, I wasn't too familiar with the concept of becoming a co-owner of a soccer club, despite the fact that I played soccer much of my entire life. So I think for a lot of people on the call today, might be a new investment and business concept, the idea of owning a club. But as you mentioned, you know, this is already being done globally in, you know, other regions throughout Europe and throughout South America there. So perhaps you can provide a bit more detail. I know we've got a slide together on that, on just, you know, for some of these other clubs that have done that, what that looks like, and kind of how that's charting a path forward for you guys as a club as well.
Yeah, I mean, it's a great segue there and question. The truth is, really, in North American culture, everything is about the winning team, and everybody rides that coattail on the winning team, whether it's the Lakers or it's the Canucks or the Maple Leafs or whatever that might be. If they're winning, everybody supports them. If they're not, there's this sort of low ebb with them. Well, in the rest of the world, especially in soccer, football, your club is your club. You live and you die by it. Yes, you want them to win, but you know, Dortmund, for instance, 85,000 people attend every single game, win, lose, or draw. They you know, gift their season tickets Season tickets are held at a good price for everybody because there's a supporter trust that votes to make sure it's accessible. But that club went from literally bankrupt all the way through to being IPO, and you can own on the public stock exchange in Germany. Wimbledon below is an example in England. The fans were upset with owners trying to move their club, who ultimately did move their club. They got together, they started themselves again under the same name with a little bit of a different numbered company. And then they've moved through league after league after league. One of the best supported clubs now in England, and that nobody knows about. Americans are very like us. They're full of different nationalities. Building something from the ground is kind of in their DNA, and they've also done that. Proving that vehicles like a sports franchise should be from the community, for the community, in the community, yet at the same time sustainable and a good investment. I think a lot of people really do see the value in the connection that they get from being a part of a club and saying that they own something like that.
No, that's great. I think you really highlighted some fantastic examples there of how we see that kind of on a global scale, which is fantastic. So I know we've had a couple questions come through, so I do just want to jump on some of those as well. We had one come through asking if the ambition for Rovers FC is to become a team that could compete in the CPL or MLS, or perhaps, how you guys are planning on building out that football pyramid that we talked about earlier.
Yeah, everything about us has been from the very beginning is a slow, steady build what we can and get access. There's something in Canada called the Voyageurs Cup, which is an open competition. We seek access to that, and our new standing as this co-owned vehicle, as well as the leagues we're in, will give us access to that, which means we could essentially vie for the Canadian championships against Toronto FC, CF Montreal, any of those Canadian Premier League teams. We have already had people knocking on our door to come in and take us to the next layer, which is the Canadian Premier League. Impressive in that they want to do that. So we're just detailing some stadium plans and thoughts over that over the next, I would say, 2 to 5 years. But yeah, we have no limit to where we want to take this, but we will guarantee that we take people with us from the community.
That's great. We do have another question that I want to try and get through, though we are running a little short on time here. So
Yep.
One of them was mentioning, the leagues that you've previously been in, the Premier Soccer leagues on the women's side, on the men's side, and just asking, about some of the players who've come through your programs, and why is that semi-pro level team so important to soccer development?
Again, we just look straight to the WHL, the OHL, and the number of people that have come through there that are now household names in the NHL. That is exactly what we're about. Come see tomorrow's stars today. We are all about, Joel Waterman, who just played against Santa Laguna last night for Montreal, who was in our system, young kid that was told he wasn't good enough and is now in the national pool. Jordan Haynes, Julia Grosso played for us, who scored the final penalty shot for the Canadian women, who now plays at Juventus. They need a chance. They need a place to play, but so do our coaches need a place to coach. If you remember that pyramid I just showed you, if there's no pyramid, there's nothing for anybody. Media, there's nothing for any journalists, there's nothing for physios, there's nothing for coaches, and there's nothing for players. We choose to fill that gap, and if we go higher levels, we're going to still leave that level there.
Absolutely. I think that's a really great sentiment to end things on. Definitely, it's much needed for player development, for the overall just development of the sport within Canada. And what you guys are doing is really charting that roadmap there, which is fantastic. And now I'd like to get things turned over to our next presenter. We've got Gabrielle of Bopper Music ready to tell us a little bit about their ethical music licensing platform for ads and branded content.
All right. Well, thanks for your time and for your interest in Bopper, everyone. Before I talked about our technology, I would like to put things in context a bit. So if we could go to the next slide, please. We've all heard about the debate on how artists are getting compensated nowadays. I think what's mostly in the news is when it comes to streaming on what we call the B2C side, and we all understand that obviously this is not how artists can make a living nowadays. But a similar phenomenon is happening on the B2B side. So what we call synchronization, when a brand or a TV producer needs to buy music. And the biggest issue in the sync industry right now is stock music. And the reason for that is that the stock music libraries basically all have a common denominator with their business model, is that in order to offer very cheap music, turn a profit in the process, they basically have to squeeze the artists. So the artists are getting the low end of the stick, and obviously, as we can all understand, can make a living out of this. So basically, our mission at Bopper is really to champion the use of the very best recorded indie music by making it faster, easier for content producers to find, to price, and to legally license a track. And we know that this is a prerequisite if we want brands and ad agencies to consider using indie music more often. It has to be as simple as buying stock music, but we want to make sure that at least there will be an ethical compensation model to support it. Next slide, please. So basically, we've been working on the platform for since 2013, started going to market back in 2019. And basically, our goal is truly to create a real win-win for both parties. So we understand how we can create a win for the producers, but it has, on the flip side, for the artists, it has to represent a win as well. And this is the only way that we're able to attract the very best artists on our platform, is because they're not only are they going to get paid in a fair way, but they will also benefit from different aspects of the platform. So I'll give you an example. The process for licensing a track starts with finding a non-brief track. So they're starting with a creative brief. They need to find the perfect track in the sea of music. Well, we want to make sure that we're going to get our artists to deal with a process that is much easier for them to get in touch with potential clients. Second aspect of the process is the price negotiation. Many of the independent artists have a hard time putting an objective value on their music. So this is why we've built technology based on artificial intelligence that really automate this process and allow the clients on the other side to get an instant quote on every track that they would like to license. And this ability to price each track individually is at the core of our fair compensation model. And again, a major obstacle that is too often preventing companies for using indie music is the fact that they're going to have to clear the track, meaning find all the rights owners, make sure that they're all in agreement, and not to end up with any legal issues afterward. So we're addressing this with what we call pre-clearance. So basically, as you can see, without going too deep into the technology, is that we're combining technology and music licensing best practices on the platform, allowing brands to find, get a price, and license a track in a matter of seconds instead of a matter of weeks. Next slide, please. So Bopper is in the early growth stage. Basically, back in 2020, we sold for $150,000. We generate $150,000 of revenues. Last year, which was our first year where we were in the market for 12 months with some limited resources, but still able to execute our go-to-market. We sold for $850,000, mostly coming from the US market. And basically, we're at the point now when our go-to-market strategy, all the processes, all the systems are in place, they're working smoothly. It's time to press the accelerator. So we're in the midst of closing a $2 million round, and it's part of our DNA, part of our core values to be inclusive, to make sure that our business community, our ecosystem can take part into the growth of Bopper, and this includes the musicians that we represent. So feel free to reach out if you have any questions. I know there's probably a few questions out there right now. I'll be more than happy to answer them.
Fantastic. Wonderful presentation there. It's so interesting to learn more about Bopper and what you guys are doing for the industry. For myself in particular, it's not an industry that I was too knowledgeable on prior to you guys raising with us. But what I do know from experience is often when the topics of ethical compensation come up in the music industry, it's usually because a large artist takes a stand and starts to have conversations about it that supports all the indie artists with them. So it's great to see that you're actually building a platform that allows those indie artists to kind of be, you know, get that ethical compensation from the forefront. So maybe you can tell us just a little bit more about kind of the changes or trends that you're seeing in the industry and how Bopper is really going to be at the forefront of accelerating that more ethical musical environment.
Yeah, well, one of the key trends that will be of interest for everyone on the call is that the demand, the appetite from brands for recorded music is just booming right now. It was up 51% year over year in 2021. So with the multiplication of the media out there, TV, streaming, advertising, social media advertising, all these productions, most of them need music, and brands and people who are behind those productions, what they're looking for is great music that they can actually buy quickly, easily, and legally. Okay, and this is exactly where we fit. On the other side, you mentioned it. One of the debate around artist compensation is for sure it's something that is carried a lot by the big stars out there, but the big stars are making their money with their live performances, merchandise sales, and things like that. This is exactly the same thing for an independent artist. However, they weren't able to rack up millions and millions of dollars before COVID. So the last 2 or 3 years, basically, they were without any significant source of revenues. And don't forget, indie artists, all the great stars that we know right now were indie artists at one time, and they became what they became because there was enough money back then to support them, okay? To support them in their career and achieving their dreams. It's not the case anymore with indie artists. And at Bopper, we believe that sync, so the ability to place one of their track on brand content, for instance, which drives significant revenue compared to streaming revenues, is definitely a great strategy for them to diversify their sources of revenue, but they need help with technology and best practices in order to make this process much smoother and much streamlined.
That's great. And I know you mentioned in that response there kind of the advertising side to what you do and the brands that you work with. We realistically just had the biggest advertising event of the year this past weekend. Biggest sporting event, sure, but advertising event, definitely. And you guys have worked with a lot of big names in getting the music on your platform licensed and some ads for some very large brands. So maybe you can tell us a little bit about some of the brands that you've kind of worked with and how that relates to kind of artists and their compensation in kind of comparison to traditional models.
Very interesting question, because pretty much all the big brands right now, considering the volume of productions that they have to deal, are looking for better music than stock music. I have never met in 30 years in the advertising industry any creative who was really happy to put stock music on the masterpiece, right? So the demand for better music is there. The willingness to leverage the best emerging artists' music is there. Now it's just a question of making it easier. And that's what we're seeing with many brands right now. They're really looking at better music. They're willing to better compensate the artists for all kinds of reasons. Yeah, they're socially responsible, but let's be honest, there's a reputational risk for them associated with using stock music. I mean, it's hard to say, oh, I'm McDonald's, I'm valuing fair trade for the coffee that you're drinking, while paying peanuts to the musicians. They're using the music for their ads. So basically, the context is favorable, the demand is strong, big brands want to contribute, want to protect their reputation, and obviously it brings companies such as Apple, such as Rolex, Hims and Hers, all those big names are doing business with us right now.
That's fantastic. Yeah, I think great to see those use cases there, and wonderful presentation today. Going to turn things over now to the next company we have presenting today. So would like to introduce everyone to RYSE and their CEO Trung, who's going to be talking about how they're an IoT company manufacturing smart shades and other smart devices that will help people and commercial properties save energy and ultimately create more convenience there. So Trung, I'd love to turn things over to you to get your pitch started.
Okay, perfect. So thanks for having me. My name is Trung Pham. I'm the founder and CEO of RYSE. We're a technology startup creating smart shade devices to automate your window shades. So I want to share two big problems in the industry and the ones that we tackle here at RYSE with our products. First, motorized shades are extremely expensive and can cost upwards of $1,000 per window. So they're typically reserved for luxury homes or a AAA commercial office. And two, most of us already have window shades installed. In fact, over 90% of households and buildings have manually controlled window shades. And it's impossible to motorize those type of shades today. You'd actually have to replace them with brand new motorized shades. And this leads to the second problem. There are no retrofit solutions in the market today. And that's why we developed the RYSE Smart Shade. It's a DIY device that is super easy to install. All you have to do is install our bracket on your window frame, loop the beaded chain or cords through our device, and mount the device on your bracket. All of this will literally take 2 minutes. You can even upgrade to our removable and rechargeable battery pack that will last up to 9 months on a single charge, providing a clean, slick look without any wires. And once installed, you could use our mobile app for control, where you could even set schedules and routines. For example, you could program RYSE to open your shades during sunrise to help you wake up to natural sunlight, and close at sunset, giving you privacy during the nights. And of course, you could integrate RYSE with leading smart home and building automation platforms like Google Home, Amazon Alexa, and Apple HomeKit. And you'll still be able to control your shades up close with the press of a button on the device itself. This is perfect for your guests to use, or if you're right by your window. Now, we have a vision to dominate the smart window covering category in the smart home. So anytime anyone asks, hey, how do I motorize my blinds or shades? We want them to think of RYSE. So we have a product roadmap that will launch additional devices in this space. We currently are developing a retrofit solution for drapes and curtains that will launch later this year, followed by a device to motorize the tilting of blinds, and then a solution for cordless shades, where today you would have to lift up to open and pull down to close. And we have some amazing traction to date. We've generated over 5 million in sales, all online, and shipped over $35,000 units. We have 5 fully issued patents and another 3 pending. And not only do we have these strong patents, we have an Amazon Court Judgment Award, which allows us to remove any knockoffs or similar products from selling on Amazon within days. We have over 700 dealers who have signed up to be resellers of RYSE, including Home Depot, and successfully pitched on Dragon's Den. We also secured a $4 million clean tech grant to support our expansion into the commercial real estate markets, deploying our devices to automate the shades, providing greater energy savings. Now, to date, we've raised over 3.5 million from some really great angels and VCs. That leads us to our current funding round, where the use of funds will be primarily used for launching new products, making large investments into inventory, and growing our B2B sales and marketing team, where we could scale into high volume channels such as retail and wholesale. You can learn more about how to invest at frontfundr.com/RYSE.
Wonderful. Thanks so much, Trung. Fantastic presentation there. It was great to see more about the products that you have in development, what's planned for RYSE in the future. And I know you mentioned kind of the next product in development is the smart curtain or the smart drapes, kind of building off of your smart shades there. So how are you identifying kind of these opportunities for your additional product lines and then determining what's going to be on the product roadmap for the future?
Yeah, so it depends on the market we're going after. And the drapes and curtains, it is making a comeback in multifamily, but it's primarily targeted towards the hotel market. So the hotel groups that we talk to, a lot of them have curtains and drapes for blackout purposes and guest experience. So we're planning to deploy our smart curtain product in the hotel market, creating a remote right by the bedside so they could just click a button, using it as the natural alarm clock instead of a wake-up call. The shades, the curtains could open. So that's primarily what we're doing with smart curtain. The cordless is also interesting because it's becoming a primary control system, mainly because a lot of these stock lines are going to a cordless system. So the types of shades you buy at Home Depot, they won't have any cords. You guys just lift it lower with your hands, and that's how you open and close. So it's really the market that dictates what type of products we create next.
No, I think that's great. And like, all those different avenues that you guys are looking into for your business, I know you kind of have that residential portion of what you do, that direct to consumer, but also, as you said, you are in the commercial space and really being able to support hotels and other organizations with these smart shades solutions. So perhaps you could tell the audience a little bit more about kind of the benefits to those customers, and particularly on the energy savings front, and how that impacts those businesses.
Yeah, so we have a few commercial partners. Quadreal is one of them. They own a lot of the commercial buildings in Toronto, the PwC building, the CIBC building, or whatnot. And the pilot we have with them is essentially deploying our devices and measuring the energy savings. And how motorized shades lead to energy savings, a lot of people don't realize this, is that if you could automate it based on weather conditions and sensors, you could save a lot in the reduction of cooling and the reduction of lighting. So for example, if it's hot and sunny and on a Saturday, Sunday, no one's in the office and the shades are open, all that sunlight's coming in and warming up a space, but the HVAC system is cooling that empty space. So that's just wasted energy. What you could do alternatively is just lower the shades automatically to reduce that solar heat gain and thereby reduce indoor cooling. And it's proven that automated shades could save up to 24% in cooling and 74% in lighting.
For sure. And I think it's great that you guys are really kind of in that IoT space. Obviously, that's a growing global market that is becoming quite substantial. One of the questions that we actually had come through is just that, are you guys interested and or exploring kind of other avenues within the IoT space that could leverage kind of your technology and similar products?
I think if we come across another solution within our category where we're an expert in, such as anything that utilizes a motor, we would explore it. So awnings would be one, outdoor awnings. Garage doors would be another one, but likely not. But typically we want to own the category of smart shades. So we really want to be focused. We don't want to create another doorbell or a smart thermostat. There's a lot of players in that space. We find the opportunity here in smart window coverings because no one's doing what we're doing.
That's great. Absolutely. And you mentioned the number of patents that you have, as well as the agreement that you have with Amazon, which prevents kind of any counterfeit products with, being sold on their platform, which is, I think, a huge competitive advantage for you guys. So maybe you can elaborate a little bit more on kind of the patents that you do have and the importance of that Amazon relationship there.
Yeah, so it's actually not a contract or an agreement with Amazon. It's a court judgment. So we filed a few lawsuits against some of the sellers that are selling knockoff products. We won those lawsuits. So we basically have a precedence with our patents. Anytime somebody tries to sell a similar product, they get booted off right away. And our patents are filed in Canada, US, EU, and China. So that's the strength of our patents. We have 5 fully issued patents right now. More are being filed as we go on. It covers everything from the mechanics, the installation aspect, the use of an external motor mounted on the window frame, even the calibration setup process. How do you set the top position, the bottom position? How does the software work, the firmware, all of that? And that's why we have 5 patents in count. So, as we continue to develop the product on the software side, there'll be more patents launched as well.
That's great. Absolutely. And one of the things I do want to mention is, of all the companies pitching today, Trung, the RYSE campaign is the one that is closing kind of soon. We've got the campaign closing next week. So this really is a great opportunity for those listening to ask Trung questions, through the platform and follow up on, anything that you might want to learn more of before making your investment decision. So Trung, for everyone who's kind of tuned in today, what can you tell them as kind of, perhaps some reasons why they should consider investing in RYSE?
There's a lot of reasons. Definitely our campaign page does a good job explaining some of the great reasons. Some of our early investors have seen, obviously, their share price grow. We do have strong sales, very, very well experienced in raising capital, as you can see, and huge market opportunity. I always allude to Ring, the video doorbell. They were on Shark Tank. All the sharks said no. Amazon comes up and buys them for 1.2 billion. So I think in our case, we have a bigger market potential. Like Ring was really just a residential product, whereas we could sell to commercial buildings, senior housing, hotels, hospitals. We could sell to any real estate, and that's one of the big benefits of our solution compared to Ring. So, big market opportunity, strong team, 22 full time, and yeah, just a great opportunity in general. I think everyone should visit our website or our campaign page and learn more.
Fantastic. Thanks so much, Trung. That is frontfundr.com/RYSE. Now, as we're looking to wrap things up, we've got our final presenter of the day. We're going to be speaking with Jean-Louis of Little Canada. Little Canada has now done 4 campaigns with FrontFundr, and it's a pleasure to have them back for this one. And for those of you who don't know, with Little Canada, you get to journey through a vast 45,000 square foot miniature Canada in downtown Toronto, which is incredibly exciting.
So thank you, and it's glad to be back, Trieste. So I invite you all to become an owner in Toronto's latest attraction. It's the one and solely community-owned and funded. It's to be included in a tribute to this wonderful country that we live in, a beacon, in my view, a beacon of culture, diversity, and the values. So we hope to evoke a sense of wonder and curiosity about this country by entertaining our guests with a journey of discovery through Canada in miniature. And it's a proven concept that is in various countries, notably in Hamburg, Germany, where Miniature Wonderland is the #1 rated thing to do in all of the country, in all of Germany, on TripAdvisor, and had 1.4 million guests in 2019. The next museum in Hamburg only attracted around the 400,000 visitors. So where are we? We're downtown Toronto at Yonge and Dundas with its 250 activations each year. Toronto is a heavily underserved market compared with equal markets in North America. And our location sits on the most busiest intersection in Toronto, opposite the Eaton Shopping Centre and next to the TTC Dundas subway station. So the journey of discovery starts basically at customs and immigration. Yes, you go through the friendliest customs and immigration officers, and they welcome you, they take care of you, and they inform you about what to expect. The first stop is Niagara, followed by Toronto, then you go into the Golden Horseshoe and Ottawa, and adjacent to Ottawa is our littleization station, where one can get scanned by 128 cameras. You can get 3D printed, and then you can be placed in one of our destinations that you choose. And adjacent to there are also our event rooms, so for corporate events. Then you go on to Petit Quebec. From Petit Quebec, you then pass through the future destination of Montreal. Our miniature mission control allows you then to speak to our animators, and followed by our miniature maker studio, where you can then talk to our model makers, having passed through the prairies, the Rockies, and the West Coast. And finally, our future North exhibit, which is planned for 2025, where it's housed in a climate-controlled room so that we can even drop the temperature down to 15 degrees. The journey rounds off with our cafe and gift shop, and with each destination passing through a 15-minute day-night cycle. This results in an average of a 90-minute experience from start to finish. So Little Canada opened in August 2021 after 10 years of meticulous detail in its miniature exhibits. And we opened last year with guests responding with ratings on Google and TripAdvisor of 4.9 out of 5 and 5.5 out of 5.0 out of 5.0 respectively. So with the proven concept supported by our guest reviews, our excellent location and the team, we have the means to reach 500,000 visitors in year 3 and 1 million visitors in year 10. So I invite you to join me in making this wonderful tribute to Canada a long-term success and reality. So for financials and investment details, please consult frontfundr.com/littlecanada. Thank you.
Wonderful. Thanks for the fantastic presentation, Jean-Louis. So exciting to learn more about Little Canada now that you've opened the facility. I know our past campaigns, when you were raising capital on FrontFundr, it was all to help build the facility. You guys are there. It's open now, which is super exciting. And it's a really interesting model. My Oma and Opa, my grandparents, are actually from the Netherlands. They've got Madurodam there, which is a small city, and that's, you know, very popular attraction. So it's great to see that we're bringing something like this to Canada. So perhaps maybe for those who aren't familiar with your previous raises and kind of all the work that was done behind the scenes, maybe you can tell us a little bit about the path to opening something as comprehensive as Little Canada.
So this was quite the feat. We were slated to open in July 2020. And then of course, with the pandemic, I think one of the things I'm most proud of is the fact that the space is over 2 floors. And the elevator and the escalators did not allow us to take the large pieces down into the level below. So we had to cut a hole in the floor of between the 2 spaces and then drop each piece down using a crane. We had to do this under COVID restrictions and protocols. We had to do this during the night when the guests weren't there or when the public was not in the building. And yeah, that's really just a snippet of what it took. The team has grown over the time frame to become extremely professional. We use CAD, we use a laser cutter engraver, we now use 3D printing, and the meticulous detail is such that you have to see it to understand it, you have to see it to believe it. It's not until you actually walk into the space do you really understand the scope and the size, and it hits you on all levels viscerally.
Absolutely. I'm definitely really excited to one day be able to visit. I know our Toronto FrontFundr team has been there. So it's very exciting and just a completely kind of magical space. It is pretty rare for kind of tourist attractions and things like that are for the community to be owned by the community. So perhaps you can tell us a little bit about, you know, what it means for Little Canada to be that attraction in downtown Toronto that is actually owned by the community.
So we are, as I mentioned at the beginning, we are a community-based owned attraction. FrontFundr played a huge role in that. One of the reasons why we reached out to FrontFundr many years ago was that we had a large following of enthusiasts, miniature enthusiasts, whether that's railroaders or just individuals who like to make things in miniature. And they all expressed a desire to be part of this attraction. This was before we even found the location. And we could not accommodate them because we needed quite a substantial capital to bring this off. We're talking about 24 million to date. However, through FrontFundr, we've been able to offer the opportunity for those to be part of this community. We have over 218 investors, the smallest from $1,000 to the largest in the millions. And each one and everyone is treated the same. The only difference is the amount of money and the equity position that they have taken in the company. There's one share, it's a preferred share. And as I said, everyone is the same. There's no non-voting or voting shares. It's just one across the board.
That's great. You mentioned kind of making this opportunity available to those enthusiasts. I also think it's a great opportunity for those who just really love Canada and everything that we're about, to be able to, be part of, be a co-owner in this little version of Canada that helps, convey what Canada is to the rest of the country as well as the world. So really, really excited to have you guys back for an additional campaign with us. I think what you guys are doing is great. And it's so exciting to see that you guys are now open. So congratulations on all the good work there. I think that's fantastic. So just as we wrap up, for anyone who is perhaps uncertain about what FrontFundr is, and this is the first event with us that you've attended, we are Canada's leading equity crowdfunding platform. We make it easy for all Canadians to invest in exciting startups and growth stage companies for as little as $250. And if you have any questions about getting started or where to make your investments, definitely visit frontfundr.com. You've had a chance to hear from all of our companies, see their campaign pages today. And if you ever have any questions about making your investment, you can reach out to support or our online chat box at any time. So again, would really like to thank everyone for attending today. So thanks so much and enjoy the rest of your day.